In the speaking part, we are going to be evaluated in four aspects. And this is basically something very similar in the way, or we picture this in a very similar form than we do it in the writing part. However, with a different rubric, right? So if we think about the way that we are going to be evaluated, we can also put it this way, right? So first is fluency and coherence, right? Then the pronunciation, pronunciation, and use of lexical resources, and also our grammar range will be important basically. Again, using too much of anything is not good. We always have to try to be leveled, right? We always have to be fluent and coherent enough.
Excuse me, using too much is not good. I didn't understand what you said.
For example, if you are using a lot of vocabulary, lexical resources, we're using a lot of quality in the speaking, right? And we are using a very well mixed form of lexical resources with the present perfect and passive voice, a present perfect with the passive voice together with modals. We make a very complex speech.
Okay.
However, that is going to be loading up a lot with lexical resources. But then we're having a lot of grammar mistakes, then it becomes imbalanced.
Yes.
So if it becomes imbalanced, then we cannot go for that 7.5 that we're expecting. Or even more. But let's say that having a well-balanced form here in all these aspects, with a good level of vocabulary, use of connectors, passive voice, adverbs, modals, and all these forms, we can say that we are going to be leveled out at 7.5, with more vocabulary. However, it's not about trying to inflate a lot the lexical resources and actually have a lot of grammar mistakes, because it still doesn't work. Therefore, we have to try always to be level out, to be at a good level and try to keep all those in the same form. Well, let's say that we are not committing grammar mistakes. So level of grammar mistakes is actually quite competent. Our grammar use is quite competent. And we're being fluent, we're being coherent, and with a good level of fluency. Fluency does not mean that we have to speak fast. No. Fluency means that we have to speak at a constant pace, at a constant form. That is what fluency means. So, however, if you speak like too slow, it is also evaluated. So if it is too slow, we might want to speed up a little bit in the form that we speak. We want to have it like fluent, but fluent actually doesn't mean that we are too slow.
Mm-hmm.
And also we have to try to have those breaks that we have between sentences. Sometimes we break too much. We start speaking and we say, well, the place that I like to go is X city, and I like this place because well, it's a nice place. There are too long spaces. Maybe not too many, but there are very long spaces between those messages, between those sentences. So that's why we have to be careful. Is try to make those spaces shorter. It's not about speaking too fast, but it's actually given a level of fluency and a good pace to what we're saying. Now, speaking too slow, also I have to be careful, because fluency is still speaking at a competent pace, velocity. So that's why it's important. Pronunciation. It doesn't mean that if I have accent, we can have accent, we can have a certain accent, but that does not affect our level of result, right? That does not affect it at all. As long as you are modulating correctly, if you are articulating correctly, then our score can still be very high. It doesn't matter if you have accent. But sometimes the problem is that certain accents do not allow us to actually, for example, pronounce the complete word. And that is the moment that we have to be careful. For example, people in Spanish, especially in certain countries, do not pronounce the S's. And they bring this use and this practice to English.
Yes.
Now, in English, we have to pronounce the S's. Besides all, this is still showing that you have good education, right? When you pronounce the S's. But in Spanish, in some countries, the S's basically in many occasions not pronounced. So we bring this. That is what we have to be careful. It doesn't matter if I have accent, but I have to be careful with the own uses I have, and I cannot forget that now I have to mention the S's. And so on for the rest of the forms. So that is the only thing that we have to be aware of. So that's an important tip, and that's an important part of the strategy that we are building in order to have this very clear out, okay?